with the country gearing up for the 2026 local government elections, the Electoral Commission of South Africa, the IEC, has issued a stark warning to Parliament. The failure to appoint new commissioners by December this year could severely disrupt critical election planning and threaten the integrity of the electoral process. Several IEC commissioners' terms are set to expire soon, while ongoing legal challenges continue to cast uncertainty over the Commission's ability to effectively oversee the upcoming polls. This afternoon, I'm joined now by Sy Mamabolo, who is CEO, Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, to take that conversation forward. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. So let's start with that. Just for clarity, you did issue this warning, and it is a warning, isn't it, about the consequences of failing to replenish the commissioners whose term of office is coming to an end at the IEC.
Well, I wouldn't say a warning. What I would say is that we felt it was an important issue to put it on the table so that the portfolio committee can put it in their work program. We are quite happy, in fact, that all the role players have started this process early. As you may now know, the Chief Justice panel, which includes the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, the chairperson of the Gender Commission, and the public protector. They have already issued a short list of 12 names, and that panel has indicated that interviews are going to be conducted on the 21st and 22nd of July, after which that panel led by the Chief Justice will submit a report to the National Assembly, and the portfolio committee will then assess it. So really the issue that we're raising was that let's make the portfolio committee aware of the process so that they can factor it into their work schedule. How many commissioner positions are we talking about? It is 3 commissioner positions, and public advertisements were issued by the panel of the Chief Justice. They have now shortlisted, they have issued the shortlist, and in fact, the panel is inviting public comment on the suitability of the 12 names that are going to be interviewed. Yeah, and what would be the consequences in a scenario where this process is not seen over the line? You've put the date of December this year. What would that mean for planning for the 2026 local government elections, keeping in mind the role that various commissioners and portfolios that are the responsibilities of various commissioners? The terms come to an end. It's a 7-year term which expires at the beginning of November. So we do hope, really, I mean, everybody has ample opportunity, all role players have ample opportunity to do that which they need to do. In the unlikely scenario where we don't have the process to conclusion, it does mean that the Commission can make lawful decisions, because you need a minimum of 3 commissioners to take a formal commission decision. But I do see this as an unlikely scenario. Yeah, and then in terms of the timelines for planning for the 2026 local government elections, this is one element, of course, in that you need to be correct as a commission yourselves. But where do we stand in terms of your timelines? What are some of the practical actions and steps and deadlines that you're starting to set for yourself ahead of that election? The first major deadline that we are working on is the finalization of the ward demarcations, because as you know, every 5 years the Municipal Demarcation Board must review the sizes of the wards based on the number of registered voters. So on our side, we have handed them the voters' roll, and they are currently busy in communities with stakeholders, consulting in the various provinces around finalizing ward delimitation. They have indicated that they will be in a position to hand over the final wards for 2026 elections to the IEC at the end of October. So that's the first major deadline. And the second important element is for us to introduce the draft legislative amendments, things that needs to be cleaned up before the elections next year. And we will be in a position in the next not so distant future to table proposed legislative amendment to Parliament.
What active steps are you taking, or what different approach are you going to be taking in relation to the concerning issue of the levels of participation? The last local government elections in 2021 really revealed a concerning picture. And I imagine that with the time that has now passed, you've had some time to think and solutions workshop how you overcome that. What's your best thinking about that?
Look, we've done some research through the HSRC, and that research points to the disaffection of people, of voters, by institutions of representation. So we are obviously in schools. We are working with schools to do voter education at that level. We are registering young people within the school environment. We are also working within tertiary institutions with the SRCs and related structures to ensure that young people are exposed to civic education and are given a sense of ownership of our democratic reality. And hopefully that will bear fruit. Of course, that is supplemented by availing things such as the online registration portal, so that young people don't have to travel to voting stations. They don't like it. The research tells us that they want to do things at the convenience of their lounge or whatever the case may be. But the more fundamental question is that young persons are saying to us they are getting disaffected by institutions of representation, which is concerning, which is why we need to work with those institutions, Parliament, municipalities, the executive arm of the state, to really, introduce the type of animation that young people are looking for.
And this is not the election where you will pilot the issue of electronic voting, is it, Mr. Mamabolo?
No, not at all. Not at this stage. We introduced a national debate about that. We are in the process of consultation, but the election will come too soon before the necessary policy framework is adopted. Yeah,
and just lastly, say a bit more on the issue of turnout. And I raise it because I remember at the time there was a great deal of concern that it was under 50% in terms of the voter turnout. How high are the stakes for us that we get it right, even if it's not overwhelming, turnout, 1994 snaking queues kind of turnout, but just for the credibility of the system?
No, look, turnout is an important element. It goes to the very heart of the health status of our electoral democratic system. So we can't spare effort in that regard. You are right. Even something in the 50 percentile will be much better than what we were able to register in 2021. So we're going to put everything at it: resources, staff, our skills, our abilities, to ensure that we engage, especially with young people, and ensure that they turn up on the day.
Yeah, all right. I've got to thank you for your time this afternoon. It is really a critical message to send out there and send it as early as possible. That is the IEC CEO, Sy Mamabolo, just outlining some of the processes ahead before the 2026 local government elections, in particular the issue of the need to finalize the appointment of the vacant positions of commissioners in the IEC.